JBNN keep you informed. I'm Michelle Jones. Before we get into the news, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the news with someone today. Now onto the news. Radio icon Barry G dies at 70. Bryton Barry G Gordon, one of Jamaica's most beloved radio personalities, whose vibrant style and infectious energy shaped generations of listeners, passed away on October 29 at the Salvermore Hospital in Westmoreland. He was 70. His longtime friend of 50 years, Michael Chambers, confirmed the broadcaster's death, citing pneumonia as the cause. Barry G's radio journey began in the late 1970s at the Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation (JBC), soon after graduating from Kingston College. He quickly became a household name through popular programs such as The Boogie Down Show and later the 2 to 6 Supermix, which dominated the airways through the 1980s and earned him the title of Jamaica's #1 disc jockey. He played mostly reggae, but loved all types of music, Chambers recalled. His shows were about energy, connection, and making people feel good. Barry G gained international fame in the 1980s through his legendary sound clashes with British broadcaster David Rodigan. Their friendly but fierce radio battles, beginning in 1983, captivated fans in Jamaica and across reggae-loving communities in the United States, United Kingdom, and Japan, solidifying both men as icons of the genre. After leaving JBC in 1987, Barry G went on to work at Radio Jamaica, Power 106, KLAS FM, and Hot 102. His career found fresh momentum at Mellow FM in Montego Bay, where he connected with audiences over a decade until his departure in 2021. In recognition of his outstanding contribution to Jamaican broadcasting, Barry G received the Order of Distinction in 2010, one of the nation's highest honors. His legacy endures in every voice that dares to bring music, laughter, and spirit to the airwaves. What good, my brethren? Homeless man in Negril killed by a container during Melissa. A homeless man who was said to be living under a container in an area called Little Haiti in Negril, Westmoreland, has been killed after the structure collapsed on him during the passage of Hurricane Melissa. His partially covered body was discovered on Wednesday morning as persons in the area came out to inspect damage caused by the Category 5 storm. The deceased is known by the alias Jermaine. Now, according to residents, the man was seen taking shelter from heavy rains and strong winds associated with the hurricane, which hit Jamaica on Tuesday. It is believed that the container gave way while he was sheltering from the storm. Residents say the man had been living in the area for several years. 73-year-old woman killed in house fire in Portmore. A 73-year-old woman was killed in a fire at her home in Portmore, St. Catherine, on Wednesday night. She has been identified as Sonia Banks of Brayton Parkway. According to reports from the Portmore police, at about 9:20 p.m., firefighters responded to a blaze at a house. The fire was extinguished, and the body of the senior citizen was found among the rubble during cooling down operations. The incident is being investigated. Approximately 13,000 people remain in shelters, says Mackenzie.
To advise that presently we have 521 shelters which are fully in operation. Now, the numbers in the shelters would have reduced substantially over the last day because many persons who went to the shelter out of precaution have left those facilities and have gone back home. So we are down to about 13,000 persons within shelters. I know we can't speak specifically to the 4 parishes that has been devastated because the communications with those parishes is very difficult. I got a call from the mayor of Black River this morning, and we spoke, and we are making arrangements to get food and water into Slipe and another community in St. Elizabeth that he spoke to me about. And those efforts are presently on the way. Just to advise the country of the 6 most severely impacted parishes: Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Trelawney, and over Westmoreland and St. James. Over 170 communities within these parishes have been moderately or severely affected by flooding, land slippage, and other aspects of Hurricane Melissa. Just want to update that the emergency secure response team and Minister Dixon would have spoken briefly to it earlier on, comprising 117 members of the Jamaica Defense Force Disaster Assistance Response Team, the DART, has been deployed to assist with search and rescue, and they are en route making clearance and distributing food packages along with the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Jamaica Fire Brigade in many communities that are accessible. The relief operation continue in collaboration with national and international partners, including World Food Program, UNICEF, SIDEMA, and other such agencies, the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, and thousands of well-thinking Jamaicans. Already Minister Williams met the Caymanian delegation, and more relief supplies are en route to Jamaica. I just want to close now by saying I spoke yesterday again about the question of the operation of the shelters. And again, social media is making hell out of what the government is doing. There is no truth that as of midday today, all shelters will be closed. That is not true. That is just not true. So the shelters will remain in operation, especially in the parishes that have been severely affected by the passage of the hurricane.
Samuda provides update on the status of the water systems and the timeline for restoration.
Just over 30 hours post the all clear being given, NWC has the following updates as it relates to their supplies. The Mona and Hermitage systems are currently operating via generator, so you would note that you're getting sporadic supply as opposed to no supply in those areas. The Tullow Springs, which is the third major system that supplies southern St. Andrew and certainly sections of Kingston, is operating with full JPS supply, but is impacted by some turbidity. That seems to be settling now, so we are able to increase the volume of water coming from that system. We are also pulling some supply from wells in St. Catherine with the use of generator and connecting from private sources into our systems. So Kingston and St. Andrew, it would be fair to say that outside of the hilly interior, being East Rural St. Andrew and West Rural St. Andrew, are at minimum getting sporadic supply. The hilly interior is obviously impacted by pumps which need energy, and that is being worked through with JPS. We expect to be able to return most of Red Hills and Stony Hill sections that are supplied by pumps with supply by this evening. So Kingston and St. Andrew generally is doing okay. St. Thomas had some electrical problems from damage during the storm. Those are being resolved now, and it's expected that St. Thomas's pumping systems will be up before the end of the day. The larger issue that we face, as you can imagine, is in Western Jamaica. I'll start first with the Northwest. Something that we hadn't contemplated or certainly had hoped wouldn't happen has indeed occurred. The Great River water system is on the boundary of St. James and Hanover. Its intake pipes were dislodged and washed away in the storm. The Great River water system serves just under about 35 to 40% of St. James and most of Hanover up to about Logwood. So you understand the disruption that this will indeed cause. Contractors have already been mobilized. The pipes are already on site. We expect work to commence within another hour as the assessments are now complete. We have been working with NWA. There will be a temporary intake installed, which will cause some traffic disruption, and the longer term work will take about 6 weeks. But we expect to complete the temporary reconnection by Sunday evening. That will allow us to pump pretty much for 70% of Hanover and 35 to 40% of St. James. I think that's important for residents there to note. We do have a generator on site at this water treatment plant, so as soon as we're able to pull water into that facility, that will help. The Martha Brae system, which tends to be the next largest system supporting approximately 50% of northern Trelawney and about 50% of St. James, especially the Montego Bay metropolitan area, is being impacted by turbidity of the Martha Brae River. With where that is now, we expect that to significantly reduce over the next 36 hours. We do have generator on site. We will be able to pump water into homes immediately after turbidity subsides within that 36-hour period. Now, important to note, and this is something that happens all the time in St. James. St. James pulling from one source is perhaps an unfortunate way that we designed this water system some 40, 50 years ago. It takes a while to backfill the lines. So every time there's a break on the line in anywhere near Iberia Star or any of Coral Gardens where there tends to be line breaks, which is why we're replacing that line, it takes approximately 1 week to backfill those lines. We pump from the Martha Brae to the terminal reservoir in the center of Montego Bay, and to backfill the lines right throughout the hilly interior of St. James, 1 week. We expect to start pumping within 36 hours. But I want there to be understanding that certainly immediately post that 36 hours, firstly, northern Trelawney will see water in their pipes, and then eastern St. James, not the political boundary, but the geographic region, will start to see the impact, and you'll move steadily into the center of Montego Bay to the terminal and the bogue systems there. Just want people to be aware that those are the constraints in that area. As it relates to Logwood, which is the major supply for Negril and sections up to about Landilo, it was damaged during the storm in terms of the electrical supply. We have repaired that and we have commenced pumping. So within the next 12 hours, persons from Logwood to Negril to about Landilo should be seeing water as we backfill those lines. We're working to do the assessments in the rest of Westmoreland. Access and connectivity with our team has indeed caused challenges. A team from Trelawney and Montego Bay is physically going to sites throughout the course of the day. We'll be better able to update as it relates Westmoreland, I would imagine by close of business. Portland, well, let me stick to the west first. St. Elizabeth, as you know, is in many ways ground zero. St. Elizabeth and I'd say eastern Westmoreland is ground level for the disaster. We are currently doing the assessments. There are 17 systems that we had evaluated between eastern St. Elizabeth and central Westmoreland that we have made arrangements for generators. We are working with the JDF to establish the routes to install these over the next 36 to 48 hours. You will recall that we had stated that it was 72 hours post all clear that we would be able to deploy these generators. At that 72-hour mark, it will take for some of those systems 12 to 18 hours to backfill the lines. So we're working through those issues. Clarendon is currently impacted heavily by energy issues, certainly at our pumps. The JPS has advised that the major ones that service central Clarendon, not political boundary but geographic boundaries, will be energized by this evening. That will give us significant reprieve. However, the major issue that we faced was in the Mineral Heights and the Woodside facilities. Those were significantly damaged by storm winds. We'll have a better feel as to how long those will take for restoration by the close of business. Engineering teams are indeed already there. The St. Catherine treatment plant is already back in operation. We expect backfilling of lines from Spanish Town, certainly into Old Harbour, to be complete before the end of the day, and persons in St. Catherine should largely have water supply by close of business. That's for the plains. As we know, as you have many pumps that function as lift stations, into the hilly interior, into places like Riversdale. That will take some time as we restore those systems. We're doing the assessments now. Portland and indeed St. Thomas, though not in the brunt of the storm, would be impacted by turbidity issues and some power issues. We expect to deploy generators, 8 generators, which will function to restore approximately 50% of Portland and approximately 60% of St. Thomas before the end of the day. So we're working through those systems. Turbidity, we expect to largely subside over the next 36 to 48 hours. That will clear one hurdle. We're working very closely with our partners in JPS to restore power, firstly, to the systems that supply hospitals, infirmaries, places of safety, places of detention, and of course, airports, Minister Vaz. The other priority, which we had not stated, but we expect to be complete with our deployment of generators by tomorrow morning, is our loading bays for trucks. Those are being dealt with now. We have commenced loading bay operations at Logwood in Hanover to deal with most of Hanover and western Westmoreland. We have commenced loading bay operations in Trelawney that will start to deal with eastern St. James. We are working to get power source to a small well that we do have in western St. James to commence trucking by this evening in the western half of St. James. Our trucking will be very inefficient because we may have to go to sources that are further away than the usual source as we get many sources up. But they will be operating as of this evening 24 hours a day to ensure we're able to backfill public institutions at night where we can get access and go into communities in the day. We are pushing very hard to deploy our generators and to work with JPS to hit our 70% target by the 72-hour mark of restoration for customers. Now, we are clear that many of our rural communities exist outside of the utility footprint and can be marooned or can be cut off from some of the small community tanks that they use. We have done an inventory of all the trucks that exist in the NWC license system, and we have mobilized those truckers to the stations that they can load, and we expect to be going into deep rural as well as into urban centers. We'll provide a further update, Minister Dixon, by way of some mechanism that me and you will agree this evening, perhaps around 6 o'clock, as we expect to have more progress at that time.
JBN will keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.